Okay, so in this video series, I will be covering how I handle the cat clicker project. Now, this is a project in the Udacity front-end developer course that covers the pattern, the model view octopus pattern, and I've seen people in the Slack channel kind of have some go through some trouble with this project, namely because it's kind of getting away from spaghetti code and just writing variables and functions all over the place to trying to structure the code into modules or a modular fashion. And the other difficulty people are having with it is trying to stay disciplined where the octopus controls the view and is the coordinator. It's the controller, really, because it's the MVC is another way to call this pattern, the MVC model view controller, where the controller talks to the model, the data, and handles the view calling. So this is my project, the way I handle it. So as you can see, when we select the cat here in the list, it updates the view. And as I go click on the cat photo, it updates the count. And you can see it also stores the count. The other thing too, in the third part of this project will be implementing an admin panel that when you open, you can change the information on the cat. So if I called in the cat something different and say I grabbed another cat image and I changed maybe the count and hit OK, it would update according and it would save it so that now we have this and we can close the admin panel. So this is a series of videos, probably about 3 videos, maybe 4, that will cover how I handle this, and I hope this helps out people with this project. I created this kind of starter code and I put it on my GitHub, and I'll put a link in the notes underneath. And I just kind of created this thing where there's a cat that's hard coded here in the HTML. This cat and these cat lists is up here too. It's just all hard coded. So then I have this app.js file, and it's just blank, and it just has these little. So it has the comments here for model, view, and the octopus. Views, because I would use 2 views in this case, and the octopus. So the key is that the case will be that the octopus will be controlling the model, will be controlling the views, and pulling data from the model. So to start, I'm going to create a model object, and actually an array of objects. And within this, we're going to have our first cat. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab from here. So I'm going to copy and paste. I'm going to copy all of this stuff right here. And I'm going to come over here and I'm going to drop it in here. I'll just drop it underneath here, just so I have it, a reference of it. And each cat will have a name. And in this case, it's Rocky. So I'll just type it in. It'll have an image, and the location will be outside the JS folder. So I gotta back out, go to the image, and it's the first cat in this case. And then we'll have a count, and we'll set it to 0. So this we can get rid of for now. Just copy. So there we have our model, and essentially it's just data. This is all this is. And then we have our view. And so to start, I'm going to create a cat view. And this is going to be using that immediately invoked function expression that I was talking about. And so this is a function that's right away called, and this essentially, whatever's in here will be a set to this, assigned to this guy. So if I said return string, and I said console log cat view, you come here, you'll see string, and that's because this function is being invoked. It's being called immediately, and the return value is being set to this cat view. So if we went in here and we did a render function, function render. Oh, before I do that, I need to grab hold of the DOM. So I'm going to be rendering this will be dynamic, so this will always be changing, but this is what I'm looking for, entry body. So I'll copy this. So the first thing I'm going to actually do is I'm going to set the cat display equal to document query selector dot cat entry body. Okay, so just to test this out, if I want cat display inner HTML equals cat displayed, whenever this function is called, it will update the cat display inner HTML. But in order to do that, I have to pass this render function outside. So what I'll do is I will create an object. Instead of returning a string, I'm going to return an object. And this will contain a series of key value pairs that refer to the functions that I want to be public, that I want to expose. What's nice though is I don't have to actually type render. If it's the same name, you can actually just type it once and it'll do the job. So whenever cat view render is called, it will change the inside of this. But of course we don't want this to be. So what we're going to do is, instead of passing this statement here, we're going to create like a template here. And what I do is I just use there's like these little template literals, I think they're called. And what I do is I just essentially, I know I already copied it once, but I'll do it again. I come over here and I say I want all of this to be what is kind of how I structured this. I'm going to copy that and I'm going to drop it in here, right? So now what I need to do is I'll have to, every time this comes around, I'll need to change the image location, the name, and the click count. And so what we can do is we can expect it to be a cat object, one of these guys. So we'll expect a cat object, and in here, so for the location, we will have cat image as we named it up here. And then for the name, we'll use the cat name. And then for the click count, we'll use the cat's count. Right? So if I come up here and I say render and I say model and I call it with the first object in this, just to kind of change this up. So we see the change. We'll give this a click count of, let's say, click count of 4. It's now dynamic. It's grabbing this it's grabbing the data from the model and it's displaying it. But of course, we don't want this to be just done like this. We want the octopus to be the guy that, the object that tells the view what to display. So in the octopus, or actually, we're going to create an octopus object, right? It's octopus, yes, equals, and again, it's going to be a function that I'm going to immediately invoke. And in here, let's start with the selected cat at the moment. So selected cat will, just for now, will equal the model, right? The first element in the array of the model, right? And then what we're going to do is, to start, when the page loads up, we're going to have an init function. And so that way we can display the first cat, or the cat that's selected. So in this case, selected cat here. So what we're going to do is, for when this initializes, when the page loads up, we want the octopus to call cat view, the render, and render the selected cat. Right? So now, in order for this to work, we have to also expose this init method. And so down here, and what we can do is, just so we call this at the right time, we're going to do when the DOM is loaded up, DOM content loaded. So when it's loaded up, so once the page is finally loaded up, we'll then call this Octopus init. So now when the page loads, it fires off the init, and this is essentially just says render the selected cat. And so if we go here just to show the change again, let's call it back, go back to Rocky. Now if we look here, boom, now the Octopus is controlling the view, right? The Octopus is saying initialize and set the render to be display the cat that's selected. So if we had other cats, which I do, so if we copy this and we say, what was the other name of the cat? Sam. So this guy is Sam, and this is cat 2, and the count we'll say, just so we see the change. So if I say the model is going to be the second element in the array, didn't fire off. Oh, sorry. Actually, I don't want this anymore. We want this. There's Sam with click 5. But we're going to start with the first cat. Now, so now we have the Octopus controlling the main view. Now what we need is whenever we click on this guy to tell the Octopus the cat has been clicked and to update the model according. So what we're going to need is we're going to need to attach an event listener to this entry body, so that way, the way I did it, I just if you click anywhere here, it will trigger the click count. I figured it'd be a little simpler to do that. So what I like to do is I like to create an init function for the cat view. So I say function, and the reason why I do this is just so that it's a clean way of attaching an event listener, I guess. So just grabbing that very same object up here and setting it in an event listener. So whenever it's clicked, we're going to call an Octopus function that's called, we'll call it cat was clicked. We'll just call it that, right? So, and then we'll also need to expose this now, this init function. So when the Octopus fires up, we're going to want to first initialize the cat view up here and then render. But in order to do this, we need a function, a method inside the Octopus that will handle whenever it's the cat is clicked. So this is where we just go, basically, we come in here and we say function cat was clicked, and whenever this function is called, take the selected cat, the count inside the selected cat, and go ahead and increment by 1, and then we need to render cat view, we need to re-render the display with the selected cat. Oh, in order to, if we try to fire this off, you'll see actually it won't work. And that's because we haven't passed out. There's no way to access this thing. So we'll come over here and we'll say cat was clicked, and now we can pass it out, and it's set up here. So if we come here, it's still not working. Cat was clicked. Cat was clicked. Init render. Huh. Let's check. not clicked, it's click. There it is. So there we go. So now it's working. So if I come here and I say this to 0 and I save it, now it's working fine. So what's happening is the view has an event listener attached to it up here, and it's attached to the that DOM element. And whenever it's clicked, it's just saying, hey, it's letting the octopus know. It doesn't care what the octopus does. It's just letting you know, look, this is being clicked. And we are handling the click in here, and we are updating the model accordingly. And actually what I'll do is I'll just, for the sake of clarity, I'll just put this in between the two, because we don't want the view to talk to the model. We want it to talk to the octopus, which will then update the model according. So I'll leave it at that for now. And for part 2, I will create the view for the list, so that we can then click on a name and update the cat view based on what's clicked. So for that will be for the next time. Hopefully that helped. Okay, thanks. Let me know in the comments if there's anything you'd like to see, or if there's anything that needs further explanation. Awesome, thanks.